Well, good morning everyone. I'll talk about how to compute in linear time the median sets in median graph in the L1 cube complexes. This is a joint work with Jérémy Chalopin, Victor Chepoy, and Yann Vaxès. So first of all, I will define the term of the title, like median sets, median graph, and L1 cube complexes. So we work with the graph metric, which is given two vertices u and v. The distance between u and v is the number of edges between a shortest path between u and v. And given a weight function on the vertices, the median function is the sum of the weighted function. The median function on a vertex x is the weighted sum of the distance between x and all of the vertices in the graph. And the median set is the set of vertices that minimize this median function. So for example here, if we take the 4 vertices with a weight of 1 and all of the other with a weight of 0, we get the 2 blue vertices as the median set. In location theory, one of the main goals is to compute the median set faster than the distance matrix of a graph, because once we get the distance matrix, we can compute the median set easily. In a more practical way, one may want to minimize the sum of the distance from a gas station to all of the districts in a city. So we work with the particular case of median graph. So to define them, I will need the definition of the interval. So given two vertices u and v, the interval between u and v is all of the vertices that lie on a shorter path between u and v. So for example, here we have the shortest path here and the shortest path here, and all of the red vertices are on the interval between u and v. And the median graph is given for each triplet u, v, w, and w in a median graph, the intersection of the interval between u and v, u and w, and v and w is equal to a single vertex. If we do it for each triplet in this graph, we always get only one vertex in the intersection, and this graph is a median graph. But it's not the case for C6. For example, for this triplet, we get no vertex in the intersection. And also for the bipartite complete graph K3, we get two vertices in the intersection. And this graph is also not median. But there are some graph classes that are known to be median. For example, the trees, also the grids, and the hypercubes. Here is a bigger example of a median graph. Intuitively, we can see it as a hypercube glued on smaller hypercubes. The median graphs are really important in many areas, like the concurrence theory, the graph metric theory, of course, and the theory of group geometry. So for example, in the group geometry, if you replace each of the hypercube of a median graph by a solid cube unity, and you order it in the L2 metric, we get exactly the cat0 cube complexes, which is really important in geometric group theory. But we won't do that here. Here we will endow the cube complex in the L1 metric, and we get exactly the L1 cube complexes of the median graphs. And we can also define the median problem in those L1 cube complexes. For example, if we take all the points, the blue points with a weight of 1 and all of the other with a weight of 0, we get the point in the red area as the median set. So the main result of this presentation is the computation of, for each weight function, the median sets of any median graph, and for any L1 cube complex of a median graph, an elevated set of points, the median sets in linear time also. This presentation used some main ideas, like some classical ideas, like the theta classes, which is a way to partitionate the edges of a median graph. the majority rule, which is a way to quickly locate the median set in a median graph. The Lex BFS, which is a refinement of the BFS that was found by Rose, Targent, and Lecker in 1976. And some are our ideas, like the velosolver property, which is a structural property of the theta classes in the Lex BFS, ordering, sorry, and the peripheral half-space peeling, which is an algorithmical operation. So one of the most fundamental property of the median graph is that the edges can be partitioned into theta classes. So we'll define them. So for example, here, if we take two edges that are on opposite side of a square, which is a cycle of length 4, we say that they are in opposite nerve relation theta 0. And theta is the transitive and reflexive closure of this relation theta 0. So immediately theta is an equivalence relation, and we can partitionate the edges of a median graph by its equivalence classes that we call theta classes. If we delete all of the edges of a theta class, we get two subgraphs that are convex, which means that if we take two vertices in an half space, let's say H, then all of the interval between those two vertices are included in H. And they are also gated. So we see that H' is gated. It means that if we take any vertex outside of X, then X has a projection on X prime. But it's even stronger than that. It's if you take any vertex Y in H', then there is a shortest path between Y and X that goes through X prime. The vertices that of an half space that have a neighbor in the other half space are called the boundaries. Also, it's the vertices that belong to an edge of the theta class. And the peripheral half space are the half space that coincide with their frontiers. So, for example, here the red half space is peripheral, while the blue one is not. And the peripheral half space property says that if an half space maximizes the distance to a fixed vertex of the graph, then it is peripheral. So we'll use it to compute the theta classes. So one, the median graph are known to be bipartite, which includes that there is no odd cycles, So for each edge in the median graph, there is always one extremity which is closer to a base point, V0, for example, than the other. So we see so we can define an orientation of the edges by distance to a base point V0. And one natural way to do it is to proceed via BFS. Okay, so we see the structural property of the theta classes in BFS. So, for example, we can see that for each arc UV, if there is only one arc on a vertex, then it's the first, it's the closest edge of the theta class to V0. For example, here. And also, if there are two arcs on one vertex V, then those two arcs belong to the same square, such that the opposite side of each edge on the square are one step closer to V0, and by definition are on the same theta class. So our goal now will be to compute quickly this edge. Okay, so they belong to a single square, and they are closer to V0. So we will proceed it with LexBFS. I will show the rule of execution of LexBFS on an example. Yeah, so this one. So first of all, we add the base point. Then we have to add its neighbor on the LexBFS. So there is no way to discriminate them. So we'll order them arbitrarily. Yeah. Now moving to the vertices that have 2 as a predecessor. As you can see, there is one vertex that have a second predecessor in the Lex BFS, while the other have not. So we'll preferably add the one with a second predecessor, and then the other, and then the ones that have 3 as a predecessor. Okay. Now moving to the 3 vertices that have 4 as a predecessor. As you can see, there are 2 of those vertices that have a second predecessor in the Lex BFS. So first we had the one with the smaller predecessor in the Lex BFS, so the smaller second predecessor, sorry, in the Lex BFS, then the other, and then the one that have only 4 as a predecessor. So we do it for each vertex, and in the end we have our Lex BFS. This is the Lex BFS is linear as a linear implementation. We call the parent of a vertex its smallest predecessor, and from now on, if there is a blue and bold arrow between 2 vertices, it means between U and V, it means that U is the father of V. Now we're moving to our most crucial technical results in this presentation, which is the fellow traveler property, which says that for each arc UV of a Lex BFS, if U is not the father of V, then the father of U and V are adjacent. I won't do the proof here because it's long and it's not relevant here, but it's our strongest technical result. And as you can see, we have found the edge that we were looking for earlier. So just to say that we need the Lex BFS to have the fellow traveler property. If we take this example and the edge 7, 8 in BFS ordering, we see that 7 is not the father of 8, sorry, but 3 and 5 are not adjacent, while in a Lex BFS they are. So yeah, this edge does not respect the fellow traveler property. So since the implementation of a Lex BFS is linear, we have found how to compute for each edge of a median graph its theta class. Now we use the theta classes to compute the median sets in median graphs. So for it we need the majority rule. One of a crucial property of the median set in median graph is that the median set is the median function is unimodal, and then the median set is connected. So go to the majority rule. The majority rule says that the median set is exactly the intersection of all of the majoritary half spaces. We say that an half space is majoritary if it contains at least half of the weight of the graph. So here we take each vertex with a weight of 1, and we take this theta class that divides the graph in those 2 half spaces, and we assume that X is a median while it is in the minoritary half space. But then the gate of X on H prime X prime will be 1 step further of 4 vertices, but 1 step closer of 6 vertices. And then it will have a smaller median function, and then X cannot be in the median set. And okay, that's the case for all of the vertices in H. Also, if we take 2 half spaces that have the same weight, so half of the weight of the graph, and we take this vertex, and we assume that this vertex is in the median set. Then, and if we take its gate on the other half space, X prime is 1 step further of 5 vertices and 1 step closer of 5 vertices, and then it will have the same weight function, the same median function than X, and then it will also be in the median set. So now coming to the algorithm to compute the median set in linear time. So first of all, we compute and order the theta classes by distance to V0, and then we take the theta class that is the further apart from V0. Then, by definition, the H is a peripheral half space by the peripheral half space property. And then we can compute its weight in linear time with the size of the theta class. And so since we know the total weight of the graph, we can deduce easily which half space is majoritary and which one is minoritary. Then we direct each edge from the minoritary half space to the majoritary one. We report the weight of the peripheral half space on the gate, on its gate. And now we see like we can do it again. We can take a peripheral, the next theta class both further apart from V0, also define a peripheral L space, etc. If there are, if the two half spaces have the same weight, then we do not direct the edges. Okay. And in the end, we have defined an acyclic orientation of the edges, an acyclic partial orientation of the edges, sorry. And then we can return the sinks, and we know that they are on the intersection of all of the majoritary half spaces, so they are on the median set. They are the median set. Okay. So we show that we can compute for each median graph the median sets in linear time. Now moving to the median cube complex. The median sets in the L1 cube complex of a median graph. I won't go into further detail about complexity, but just to give you one of our struggles with it, I will show how we encode the input. So to encode the inputs, it was we returned its one skeleton, which by definition is a median graph. And to compute the terminals are the points of the L1 cube complex that have a non-zero weight. So to compute the terminals, for example, to compute the inputs of this blue terminal. So first we take one vertex on the smallest hypercube that contain it on the median graph. Then we take its vertices its neighbors in the median graph, such that the hypercube is totally defined by those points. And then we return the coordinates of the points in the coordinate system defined by the previous vertices. So we do it for each terminal. And before doing our algorithm, we do a preprocessing, which is we take as the base point of each hypercube the gates of V0 on this hypercube. Okay, the box we can computing the median set in the L1 cube complex is equivalent as computing the median set in this graph, which is called the box complex, and which is obtained by dividing the median graph by each hyperplane that goes through a terminal. But as you can see, it's really not effective in terms of complexity, so we will try to compute the median set, but not computing the box complex. Okay, so to do it, we'll need some definition. So we'll define the half spaces and the carrier. So for each theta class, we can define the geometric half spaces, which are equivalent to the half spaces in the median graph, which can be defined by analogy. Okay, and what's lay in the middle will be called the carrier. So moving to the EI median. So let's take a theta class EI. Then we project each of the terminals. Sorry, I didn't say it. From now on, the terminal have a weight of 1. And the blue points have the weight of 1, of all of the other a weight of 0. Okay, so we project the weight of each terminal on the 0, 1 segment on this theta class. Also, the points that are on this hyperplane we will project on 1, and on this one we will project on 0. Okay. And we compute the L1 median on this segment. So we get it. And now we know that the median set is totally included in this red area. We don't know where in the red area, but we know that it's in it. To see it, we assume that this point is in the median set, and then we take its gate on the red area. Then its gate will be k-step closer of 4 vertices and k-steps further of 2 vertices. Then we will have a smaller median function, and then this vertex cannot be in the median set. And also, if we assume that this point is in the median set, then if we only change its EI coordinate, and we keep it, the EI coordinate, sorry, it's its coordinates on this dimension, and we keep it in if we keep its EI coordinate, sorry, between rho and rho prime, then it will always get 3-step closer of 3 vertices and further of 3 vertices, and that will have the same median function. Okay, so to give you the idea of how it works with the majority rule in the L1 cube complex. So if both rho and rho prime are on the same extremity, then the median set will be included in the half plane on the same side of this extremity. Also, if both rho and rho prime are not on one extremity, then the median set will be included in the carrier, in the point of the carrier, sorry, that have an EI coordinate between rho and rho prime. And if only one of rho and rho prime is on one extremity, then the median set is included on the half plane on the same side of the extremity and on the points on the carrier that have an EI coordinate between rho and rho prime. And if both rho and rho prime are on different sides of the extremity, we cannot say anything about where is the median set, except that it intersects both half spaces and the carrier. So to see the algorithm, so first of all, we compute the EI median. I didn't show all the red area because of visibility. We use some, to compute it, we use some same techniques as we do in the median graph, like the peripheral half space property and the partial orientation of the edges. And we take all of the points that, for the points that are on the intersection of all of the EI median. Okay, so we get the median set, and then we return its one skeleton, which is a subgraph of the box complexes that we saw earlier. So, as a conclusion, we saw for each cube complex of a median graph and each weighted set of points in this complex, the computation of the median sets. We didn't go about further detail about complexity, but it can be done in linear time. So, as a conclusion, we saw that for each median graph with m edges and any weight function, that we can compute the theta class in linear time, also the median set in linear time, and for each L1 cube complex of a median graph and any weighted set of points, that we can compute the median sets also in linear time. We didn't see that we can do it in linear time, but yeah, it can be done. Well, thank you very much for watching this video. If you have any question, I will gladly answer them on the question and answer talk, session at ICALP. Thanks.